While the riverbanks of the Vaal River, south of Gauteng, are in for grand development plans over the next 15 years, as a mega mixed-use development is set to emerge. The Val River City development will seek to cater to mixed-income citizens and revive the economy of the area. In this Property Mogul feature, we speak to the man behind the development, Reggie Kukama. Reggie, thank you very much for your time today. Now, while I was doing my research about your journey through the built environment, a word that came to sum up your journey in the sector would be a deal maker. Would that be quite an apt description?
I think deal making, yes, but the built environment, it's a very large industry, but it requires also patience. So you go through a whole lot of the web, but ultimately, yes, the Val River City it is, and we're going to make it happen. Yeah.
And I will just get into the specifics of your journey, but you've been an architect now for about 18 years.
Yeah.
Take me through that journey of when your interest in the sector began.
Look, I grew up in a township. There's nothing much except the 4 rooms that you only see there. The biggest thing that which was a dream, was the big house, the big window house. It was part of our dream, but at the same time we used to build mold houses, draw them on the ground and so on. And this is how the whole dream started. And towards my matric, I stumbled upon an advert for requiring training for people within the built environment, architects, quantity surveyors, civil engineers and so on. I applied, and then I got the opportunity to start training. That's how it began. Yeah.
Did you even know what the profession entailed at the time when you were talking about being an architect?
To be honest, I did not even know anything. You can imagine a boy from the township in the first year at university. They were talking about all things that I didn't know. I mean, piazza in Italy. I mean, I was clueless on what they were talking about. So, but obviously at some point, I mean, they were talking about squares, that, and we don't have those kind of things in townships. But ultimately, you know, after a few years, and I said, no, man, I actually know what a square is. If you take a street in township, we do play soccer on the street. We do weddings on the street. There's a funeral on the street. And that's exactly, that's a square to us. So this is how you start interpreting the whole art of architecture, and that's how I interpret my journey, basically from the basic things that I used to do as a child to where we are now. Yeah.
So the township really shaped your upbringing, but the township is a very large area. Where specifically in the township?
Look, I grew up in Mafeking. That's where I hail from, and then I moved to Cape Town when I went to study, and I've been there stayed there for about 12 years after my studies. Yeah.
And now, a particular defining time, I would say, for your career is that you spent some time at the University of London on a Unilever scholarship, and I believed you also worked in the US as well for an architectural firm, that is. What about these experiences were key as part of your development?
Look, traveling is always good for any other person to learn about new cultures, how people do things somewhere else. So that journey was a big development into my own head, to how to approach things, how to approach even people. Because I believe architecture is not about buildings, it's all about human beings. Because human beings are the ones that are touching, that are feeling, that want to do things. So those kind of experiences obviously will shape you to develop a product that can be easily accessible, easily used, and so on. So my work in the US, I was still I was on an exchange program. I was doing my 4th year, and then the 4th year in architecture, you must go outside, you must go do a practical for a year. So I happened to be lucky, and then I got an exchange program with the US Embassy. I think there were a selection of us. Ultimately, there were only 2 of us that were selected to go over. So I worked for a company called Design Development Group in Baltimore. I don't know if you are aware of Cape Town. They designed the Cavendish Square in Claremont, which I participated in. The other thing that they did as well, which is closer to home, is a zone in Rosebank. So that it was designed there in the US. So I participated in those two designs. Yeah, and then ultimately I went to do my masters through the Nelson Mandela Unilever Scholarship in the UK. Also, beautiful experience because I was moving away from architecture a bit to go and understand more about urban development. And those experiences took me, my research, I did it in Beirut, where I spent 2 months in Lebanon, Beirut, which also wonderful because if you look at how people use space, Beirut being a cultural city as well, because it went through a whole lot of war during, as you know, how it has been shaped and so on. So the experience from Beirut to London to South Africa can also, it's a wonderful thing, I can tell.
And looking at the boy from the township in Mafeking, who was starting to understand how squares and patterns work, did you ever think that you'd be traveling around the world, looking back?
Looking back, no. I think, life is serendipity. You stumble across something, but if you got that opportunity, never drop a ball. The first time when I could afford to go study, I never looked back. This journey has been going through. I mean, I've been 18 years in the profession, but I'm still studying as we speak because it mustn't stop. So that journey is all about development. So for me to travel to go and learn more, I think it's in my nature, and I think it needs to be developed to any other person that wants to be successful. Success is not about having money, like everyone talks on TV or radio this nowadays. It's about development of yourself. Yeah.
And now you came back from your travels, and you came back to South Africa, that is.
Yeah.
Was that an easy decision? Because a lot of people who seek opportunities overseas, some of them don't come back, and we have an issue in South Africa of a brain drain. Skills being developed outside of South Africa and not coming back into the country. Was that an easy decision for you coming back?
I think mine was very easy. I think it's a pity for people who don't come back home. When we went for the first time, we had a briefing with the late or the former president, Nelson Mandela. I think one of the first things to try and encourage us to come back was this words. Imagine a child being born. Your child being born. It needs to be nurtured by you, okay? And then if you leave it, it won't grow, okay? So for us, South Africa was being born. So to leave it, not being party to it, I think it would have been a shame, because I was developed by South Africa. I cannot go and contribute outside more than to contribute back home. At the same time, you are part of the numbers if you're overseas, No one cares. You just walk up and down. You just do what you do. You don't talk to any other person. But here, everyone's got an opportunity in the next coming 50 years to see something that they can start from the beginning and end. So I think it's for any other person who is even thinking of going outside, you've still got an opportunity to start. Just like imagine Val River City. It would have been a dream if I was still outside. But here I can see something from the beginning towards the end. And I think that's a message that I want to tell everyone who has a thinking of going outside, but to develop the country. Yeah.
So your premise was that you coming back to South Africa with the view of building the country.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Yeah. And now you came back to start your own company in around 2000, if memory serves, from our research. Tell us about that company you co-founded.
Yeah. Look, we started a project management company with about the four of us initially. We're all friends from university. I'm an architect. The other two were quantity surveyors. Another one was a civil engineer. We wanted to do something together, but obviously I can't do civil engineering. I don't know anything about it. But a common ground for us was project management, and we started with the city of Cape Town gave us a small project of 20 million rands to do something in the township. So, and then we came up with ideas. I remember putting ideas together. We went to Khayelitsha, Gugule to Nyanga and so on. So we, from that, we developed a thing called a program management. I think we were one of the first few guys to develop what is today called program management within the built industry. Why I'm saying that is that we've got a big impact in terms of the results. You do multiple programs within a short space of time, as opposed to the old ways of doing planning, whereby there will be the silo way. You do one school, and then you wait for next year to do another one. But people, as you know, in South Africa, they want big impact stuff. You can do 100 schools at plan and develop them at once. You understand? So we started with this particular thing of give a typical example. In Nyanga, people used to sell meat on the street. They didn't have washing bays and so on and so on. So what we came up with there was a project whereby we did shelter for them, to do storage for meat facility and cleaning and so on, so they can be within an environment. We went to another area where there was no toilets and so on. So we came up with an idea of developing a bathhouse, a common bathhouse for both men and women. And then we went to Gugule too, where we developed a taxi rank because there was no shelter within the taxi. So it was all those kind of ideas that were more social, but had a big impact within a year from the 20 million rand budget that we had. Yeah.
And every entrepreneur has a journey.
Yeah.
And that journey is also made part by challenges.
Yeah.
And now you talk about those social projects that helped you to, start that business and grow that business. But I just want to hear some of the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur when you decided to venture out into that space with your co-founders as well.
Yeah. Look, I think I love challenge myself, because life is about a challenge. If you're not going to have a challenge, it means you won't be creative, you won't be able to develop. So the first challenge, if you start something, everyone wants money. Okay, it's the first challenge. How do you overcome it? You work harder. So for us, I see a challenge or entrepreneurship as two things. One, you must spend time on any product that you want to develop. Second thing, you must focus. So if you do those two things, challenges becomes easier, because everyone will say, I don't have the money to do 1, 2, 3. But if you spend time on the product, with or without money, you are able to sell your product so that you can get the financial things, and then you can move on to the next step. And it's all about something. It's all about focus. You don't do 100 things at one go. You focus on it, and then from there things becomes easy.
What are your biggest mistakes looking back with that particular venture, perhaps, that you can outline on?
I think with the venture that we started, I think people grow apart from each other because of the business. We had an office in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and so on.
All four of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But because you don't spend more time together, you tend to grow apart. I think looking back, I'll advise any other person that if they are going to do ventures, spending time with your partners is actually more important than focusing on work without looking at any other thing. And I think that's where our mistakes were. I can tell you now, I used to work 18 hours per day. So you tend to lose a lot of things that on a social aspect as well that you should be trying to embrace. Yeah.
So those synergies were kind of broken apart.
Yeah.
And that allowed you to also start your own venture as well.
Yes, yeah. Then as I moved on, I started what I call what is today Yaersho Investments, and it's involving a number of projects. One is property development. I've been doing property development on my own since 2010. And then the other is we do cell phone masts, which is also another beautiful venture. The last thing that is actually with my heart is that we because I'm a designer, we are designing mobile clinics for kids. And we in the Western Cape, I think we've got about 11 buses that move around the school. So if you remember, when we were growing up, there used to be a bus that would come to your school to check your dental, to check your eyes, and so on and so on. So we've got a program like that, which is actually a beautiful program that we are floating around the country. Yeah.
And I just want to now divert into sector-specific challenges of the architectural industry.
Yeah.
Now, this is an observation, Reggie. I have no authority whatsoever on this, but my observation is that there is possibly a lack of black architects. First of all, is this something that you also share and see as well? And if so, why is that?
I agree with you. I think we have not done enough us as architects. When I was a student, I can tell you what I used to do. I used to recruit. I used to go and recruit a lot of, I go to township to go and get more people. I think during my time, there were only 4 of us in the class, 4 black students. But by the time I was closer to do my final year, which was the 6th year, there were maybe 10, 15. I'm not sure what the stats are, but I can confirm that there's not enough people within the built industry from the previously disadvantaged communities. So, one, lack of career guidance, which is not, I would say, it's not only supposed to be the government issue, it's supposed to be an industry issue to try and recruit, to try and educate people more and more about what these professions are all about. So, yes, you're correct to say that it is not there, but we need to do more in terms of just career guiding people.
And are these sort of discussions happening with those various decision makers, for example? Because it's all nice to identify this problem and talk about it within our circles, but is this matter put forward to those various decision makers, perhaps?
Look, I think people are doing things on their own little bit. I've got my own programs that I'm doing at work to train and to take students to school, because I was also given an opportunity to study. So I do those kind of programs. But I can tell you, I'm doing it on my own. I'm sure someone is doing somewhere else on his own. There's no interaction with government that one will say that, guys, let's put up a particular program within this built industry. If it's there, I'm not even aware of. Understand? I think everyone is just doing their own little thing. But indeed, I think to consolidate that thing, it's a must. One should take the initiative, possibly with a few number of people that I know are doing similar programs together with government. Yeah.
And you did mention that you took the initiative to recruit those individuals, historically disadvantaged individuals from the township. Is that what you're also doing with your own venture currently?
Yeah, I mean, like there's always, if you go to my office, there's always people young guys. I believe in young people more than, I'm getting older now, but I still believe in young people. Because one, they've got energy. If you tell them that you're going to go and work in Kimberley for the next 3 months, with pleasure. They don't have so much commitment So to work with young people is actually the most beautiful thing. And I think people need to use that opportunity, because there's a lot of unemployment in the country, especially for the young guys.
And it's Youth Month, so those discussions need to be had.
Yes.
And possibly devise those action plans as to how we're going to address this. Now, I just want to touch on a particular encounter that will lead us to this development, the Val River City development. That is your encounter with Dostane and Giuseppe Plumari. That's about in 2006. If my research is quite accurate. How do those encounters shape your business journey that will lead you up to the Val River City development?
Look, I stumble across people because when I meet people, I like talking, trying to understand people more and so on. So as we were talking, they said, no, they've got a piece of land which is today called Stain City, but they've been having problems to develop it because government cannot build the road, which is what is William Nicol now. And I sat and I listened, but why is government not building the road? No, it is not in their plan currently. In fact, they want to take all their resources to the previously disadvantaged areas, which is understandable. But at the same time, I said, maybe we're also missing an opportunity. And I said the other problem was this lack of communication between developers and government. Okay, so I then said, development is a wonderful, and I love it because one, it creates jobs. Okay, and which is what government wants. Okay, and there's a thing in the property industry called value creation. Okay, if you put in 100 million into constructing a new road, the value that you are creating there will be possibly more than 100 million. Okay, so I went to government and I said to them, guys, there's a road that is needed. The developer will put his own money, and then can we talk with them? So ultimately, government built the road. I think the road today is at the value of 600 million, which they contributed themselves, a third of the total amount. But the spin-offs is that the developers put 6 billion into the road. So you can imagine, you can see that the value that was created by government by putting a road has created 6 billion, 8 billion rand investment. If you look at Gautrain, it's exactly the same thing. What is happening in Rosebank and Sandton, it's all because of Gautrain, because government put in money, maybe 20 billion, but the net effect is bigger than the initial amount of the 20 billion. So, and I think this should be our approach in terms of viewing things. This is how I met the two gentlemen. I made them closer to government to ensure that they realize their dream. But as we were also talking, and I said, guys, I also want to do my own development. And they told me about the land they have in the Vaal. I went to visit the land. Amazing. 6 kilometers of river frontage, strategically located in terms of the R59, taking you to Sasolburg, the barrage route that takes you between Vereeniging and Vanderbilt Park, 5 minutes away from Sharpeville. So it could not have been a better place. And that's how I started negotiating to purchase the property. Yeah.
And you did note that you have been in those discussions with government. And a lot of industry players say that the relationship between the private sector and the public sector, it's quite a turbulent one. I mean, how would you find those relations with government? Because I believe that it is those partnerships that will alleviate some of the challenges South Africa faces. Yeah. Have you had a positive experience with the government on that front in creating those relationships?
As a South African, I share the same vision as government. I think we've got a wonderful constitution. Their vision is to develop the poor. I cannot say I've got a different vision out of that. And I think the private sector as well got the same vision. But the biggest problem between the two parties is that there's never a trust. Government normally thinks that these guys are trying to cheat us. These other ones say, nah, they will never deliver anything. So you've got these two thoughts. But all it takes is communication. If you can sit down with government, talk to each other, I can tell you always finding a common ground. And you can still do a development with the same vision that you had and then implementing it with their requirements, because their requirements actually for the people, or at least government is supposed to be for the people. So if you align those two things, it will be much easier. And I normally hear when people are saying that they can't talk to government, I go there myself and go and help them, because you must communicate. They must push their dreams. Government must also push their dreams, which is job creation, SME development. Those are primary things that I think we must all try and focus on. Yeah.
You touched on a very interesting analogy, saying that trust is important between both parties. Yeah. That is the private sector and the public sector. But is that trust improving, in your opinion?
Trust can only improve if both parties talk. And government must also try and reach out. It cannot be only the private sector trying to reach out. As government, and I like the current government in Gauteng. If you read on the media all the time, they're always meeting private sector people. They go to the banking councils, they go to asset managers. So I think that kind of bridge. On the other side, people that never used to trust government, they are starting to understand that we can actually work with these people. And immediately, guess who's going to be the benefits? The ordinary man in society. So if that trust gets bonded, the beneficiary of that will be ordinary people.
And now you touched on looking at the land that Giuseppe suggested you to develop and buy. It's at the Vaal River. Now, if I understand, the Vaal is it's this huge stretch of river where portions of the Vaal River are privatized.
Yeah.
So where exactly is this development within the Vaal River?
Look, let me start with this whole privatization issue. In South Africa, the entire, from the Vaal Dam, it goes all the way to Orange River. From the Orange River all the way to the Atlantic, the entire land is privatized. I don't think government owns anything. There's not even any intention for government to develop anything there because the land is privatized. If you look at the coastline from Mozambique side to Namibia side, all privatized. You understand? So people don't have that opportunity to enjoy their natural resources. But when I saw this piece of land, which is 6 kilometers, which is still private, I said there's an opportunity to make it public. Okay, so that people can also come and enjoy those their natural resources, basically, because water is a natural resource. So if you want to know exactly where it is, and I think everyone else knows where Sharpeville is. Somebody must have heard of Sharpeville in this country. If they have not, they can Google. The land is 5 minutes away from Sharpeville, and it's got obviously a 6 kilometer stretch of the river, and it borders across the R59 going to Sasolburg, and then there's another road called Escort Road, which is closer to Vaal University Technikon.
When you say people don't have access to the Vaal River, are you talking about people in the surrounding communities?
Generally, because how will they access? Because it's my land. I block it off. Do you understand? The only time that people can have access is to go possibly to a hotel. Those hotels that are along the river, but also again there it's also privatized. Access is not just like you can walk through. But what we are trying to create here, we're trying to create a thing that any other person from Sharpeville to ever can come and enjoy. Can do walking paths, running paths, and so on within their thing, so that people can easy access, a waterfront kind of thing.
And those people, as I said in my intro, would be sort of your mixed income individuals, that is, because developments of such nature are, I would assume, quite catered for to the affluent and well-heeled. So would that be a correct description, saying that this development will be targeting mixed income consumers, perhaps?
Yeah. That's the intention, and I'll tell you why. Again, as part of the vision, if you look same along the river, is that people who have those houses, they don't stay there. They stay in Sandton. They go there once in 3 months during Easter or December period. So the river becomes a ghost river, basically. Just flows. There's no activity. So for us is to say that let's target people who stay in the Vaal. People who stay in the Vaal are not as affluent in terms of monetary as a guy who stays in Sandton. So how we plan the development is to target anyone who earns between who can afford to buy or 300,000 rent unit to possibly $1 million. So those are the kind of people that we are trying to target in this area, and that's the market that we believe that we can capture from the Vaal. And then for the city we are trying to build, it will make it a vibrant city because we're having people that are staying there that will enjoy.
And was that part of the mandate given by the Gauteng provincial government, because this is a private and public venture.
Yeah.
Was that the mandate that Vaal River City development should be accessible to all?
I don't. It was not really a mandate per se. How we managed to get ourselves together with the government was that they have been planning something similar to this for some time, apparently. There was a thing called a document that when we started talking, they showed me a document called Vaal 21. So they had these plans, but obviously they didn't have a piece of land somewhere. Obviously they wanted to go and buy a piece of land to do this kind of thing, because as you know, most of the cities in the world are built along the river. We are possibly the only country here where we don't have cities along the river. So now their vision was that, but we also had the same, or at least we also had the same vision that let's do this development. It must not be for the elite. It must be a development that can be enjoyed by everyone else. And when we presented our vision to them, I said, guys, where are you from? Because it's exactly what we've been looking for. And then this is how we started to walk our journey together with them. Yeah.
So it was a perfect mix.
It was that kind of mix.
And I mean, in your process of due diligence, do you think that, are you confident that there is demand for that kind of development in the area?
Yeah. One, the issue of housing in this country, especially at that level, at the entry level of 300,000, 400,000, it's a huge demand. But anyway, the other thing is that we did a market study just to see where we are. And there's a big demand. In fact, we have approval for 5,000 units. I can tell you, it's not more than enough. People are always looking for an entry-level kind of units, rental stock, those kind of things, student accommodation. So there's always a demand for those kind of things. But there's a market study that has been done, which proves exactly what there's demand for that bracket.
And I guess that's where the Department of Human Settlements comes in, when it says that there's a backlog in South Africa of about 2.1 million housing units, that is. Yeah. And you are partly addressing that backlog.
We're trying to address that backlog, because hence I say that we are not building this thing to say that we're going to make huge sums of profit. Okay? There will be some financial gains, obviously. If we wanted to, you should have said the units are supposed to be 3, 4, 5 million. 10 million, we can do it, but it's not about that. It's to capture the people that have been left behind, and I think that's the vision for this thing, which fits well into the human settlement plan.
And let's talk about the exciting parts now. That vision and what you are trying to do at Vaal River City Development. Let's just talk about some of the features. Let's run through them as to say this is what will be there at Vaal River City Development.
Yeah, I think the first thing that we're trying to plan is a metropolitan precinct. The reason why I say metropolitan precinct is that if you look at the area of Vaal, the services are all over the show. I mean, like if a child wants to do if you want to go and apply for an ID, you take a taxi, you travel to the other side. You come back, you want to pay your municipal services, you take another taxi, you travel the opposite direction. If you want to do something else, there's always a taxi involved. You understand? So, and people spend money and time on a taxi. So our idea of the municipal precinct, it is to bring all the services together. Your municipal offices, your home affairs, your SASA buildings, we've been having discussions with Department of Justice to bring possibly a court there. So all those kind of services that are interrelated, we want them to be in one specific area. So it's a one-stop area for community. If you take a BRT, it lands you there. If you take a taxi, it lands you there, and then you can do everything at one. So that's one feature. Second feature is the residential. Like I said, we're looking at about 5,000 units with different type of typology. Entry-level rental market, and then our elite ones will possibly be 1 million, which is an entry-level, possibly here in Sandton. And then students, it's big problems that we know that students are always looking for accommodation. stay in shabby areas which are not well off. So I think we want to address that as well. The last, not even the last, but the other thing is the lifestyle and retail center, which we want to do it along the river, where we'll have boats, people can come in, up and down, create employment for small little guys that want to rent them out and so on. And then we also are intending to do a bird sanctuary, because there's one of the portions there that's got a lot of birds that are just breeding there, so we're going to do that. And then about 20-30 hectares of parklands, cycling tracks, running tracks, all those kind of things. That's the intention of the area.
And you partly answered my question that I'm just about to ask, but you're seeing a trend emerging whereby if developers want to embark on a development, they have to, from their own pocket, invest in surrounding municipal infrastructure, that is.
Yeah.
And now looking at the Vaal on its own, I mean, it's quite... There's a lot of issues on flooding around the river.
Yeah.
And there's also sewage issues as well within the Vaal River. I'm sure you're also going to be embarking on that route whereby you're going to invest into municipal infrastructure before you continue with the development as it is.
Yeah. Look, let's address the issue of flooding. I think I'm sure about 2-3 years ago, there was a lot of flooding that was happening there. Ever since that, I think some people, especially developers, they don't adhere to the rules and regulations. Everyone tries to infringe. So where we are, our design is done on a 150-year floodline, which is a requirement from the rainwater. We're the managers of the river. So it caters for that. I don't think we'll have any issues of flooding because we are far away from the river in terms of the regulations. And then on issues of infrastructure is a big thing in the Vaal. The biggest problem there, it's the sewer. Not only in our area, but the entire area. So there's a process which is not our process, which is a national government process to upgrade the sewer system. I think they're going to spend about $1 billion or $2 billion, I'm not sure about the amounts, to upgrade the entire sewer system within that. Coming back to our development, obviously, yes, we're going to spend money. One of the first things that we want to do is to do an interchange to get into the development, improve the current roads that are there, and then also do a sewer system that will cater for our development whilst we're waiting for that big project to materialize. Yeah.
And what are some of the benefits of the development that you are factoring in, perhaps in terms of job creation with the Val River City development?
Look, on job creation, we commissioned a study by Dr. Dick Prinsloo just to look at the economic impact of the project. So I think what we envisage for this development to happen during construction phase, we'll have about 10,000 people working there. Afterwards, possibly about 9,000 people that will work there. So there'll be a lot of job creation, just in terms of ordinary people. But the critical part as well is also SME development. When we do a road, I think we're going to specify a minimum of local content that from the main contractor, they must employ the local guys. So from a construction point of view, for the smaller guys, there'll be a lot of opportunities that will be created for them. Yeah.
And perhaps can you just talk us through some of the project timeline and the phases that you are earmarking with the development?
The first thing that we want to do is the infrastructure, the roads. I think before the end of the year, we'll start with the roads to improve on the roads, and then the sewer. From next year, we'll start the first buildings will start imaging your housing units and so on and so on. I think it will emerge from next year. But the total time frame for the development, my guess is about 10 years. And I say the reason why I say 10 years, if you look at all the cities that have been built, Waterfall, Stain City started in 2008. It's not finished, so we're already 15. Waterfall started in 2000. It's not finished. We're 15 years down the line. So development is a long-term number. We all know that. Just don't build your house today. Then you go in. It takes you a year to build your own house. So it is that kind of thing. It's a long-term project, 10 years at least. Yeah.
In fact, I'll actually quote a property quote that is normally said is that property is a long-term game, and that is. And now, being a developer, Reggie, you inherently look at a return on investment, perhaps. What sort of returns are you looking at with the Vaal River City?
I'm sure they'll be good, but I'll start by just talking about returns per se. You know, property development is more like a marriage. You know, you get married today, you don't expect returns tomorrow. Marriage, when it matures, it strengthens. So property is exactly the same thing. So you start from the beginning, you start realizing your returns after year 5, year 6, up to 10. So and I think this is no different from any other thing. If you go into property, you must wear a hat of long term.
Well, Reggie, then let's leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. That was Reggie Kukama, the man behind the Vaal River City development. Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you very much. Thanks.